Plan on flying? In order to board domestic flights, your driver's license or state-issued ID must be a real ID. Learn how to get your real ID today at tsa.gov/real ID or visit your local DMV.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Attack the Baseline, the WNBA podcast where every episode we attack our baseline knowledge of the WNBA. We're your hosts, John and Kristen Barber, and today we're down to our second to last team, our penultimate team, the Minnesota Lynx, a team that came in second in a best-of-5 final against New York. I'm excited to talk about them today, but Kristen, how are you?
I'm good. We are winding these season snapshots down.
So close.
Which means we're getting very close to the start of the season. Mm-hmm. I'm pumped.
I mean, as you're listening to this, you're like 3 days away. Mm-hmm. Friday, it's coming.
It's going to be a great week, a great lead-up week.
I know.
And once that starts, we're in full swing, and it's summer.
All summer long. Right. It's like that's the start of our summer now. Mm-hmm. Usually, like growing up, for me as a Big Brother fan, that was the start of summer. Now Big Brother doesn't start until like the middle of July, so like I can't have that. Mm-hmm. The WNBA is now going to be the start of my summer.
Yes.
And I love that, even though it's the middle of May and it's still like another month until technical summer, but you know how things are in the world.
It feels like summer.
That's true. That's true. So if you're new here, welcome. Very happy to have you as we talk about the WNBA and teams and players within the W. If you'd like to reach out to us and let us know how you're feeling about the show, you can send us an email, attackthebaseline@gmail.com, or connect with us on Bluesky or Instagram at ATBPod. Also, keep posting messages on Spotify and on YouTube. I love seeing what everybody has to say, how they're feeling about their separate teams, correcting me when I'm wrong. I need that. So please, thank you for keeping me accountable. 5-star rating and reviews as well help the show. Tell your friends, tell your family. Get everybody excited for the WNBA season that's right around the corner. Minnesota. So, any initial thoughts on Minnesota? Quite a good team, huh?
Yeah. Of course, a good team. Mm-hmm. Last year, really narrowly missed the championship.
Correct.
2 of the 5 games went to overtime.
I think so.
Only one was like a blowout win for New York. Like all the rest were very much toss-ups, and the Lynx could have won them.
Right.
So I kind of was hoping that they would take from that and like say, okay, we just need like one more piece and we can win.
Right.
But they kind of, in my eyes, like really did nothing this off season. Mm. So I honestly am kind of disappointed by it. Mm. And I think they will still be just as good as last year. Mm-hmm. But as we've talked about before, so many other teams are way better.
Right.
So I am just a little worried.
Sure.
And a little bit disappointed.
Sure. Yeah, that's very fair. I mean, they really came down to, if we're reflecting on their previous season first here, like Alana Smith getting hurt in the playoffs was not helpful. She's a very, very good center in this league. But, you know, Misha Hines-Allen was not good in the playoffs, and that really cost them. Like, I think you and I can both agree that we were just expecting them to add, like, another center.
Yes.
And just call it a day. But instead, they kind of ran it back just straight up. And, you know, there are a couple new pieces here that we're going to talk about. But, I mean, I think the team right now is just relying on Cheryl Reeve coaching at a high level and relying on Napheesa Collier to be the MVP of the league, which I already have money on.
Okay.
Like, Napheesa Collier was so good and unrivaled. She seems to have a massive chip on her shoulder going into this season. And, not to forget Courtney Williams and,
Kayla.
Turkish champion Kayla McBride. They all have chips on their shoulder, and they all know where they want to be, and they all know that they want to bring another title home for Minnesota. So let's go down the very small list of moves here. As it currently stands, the Minnesota Lynx are down to 13 players in their offseason roster, so they need to cut down to at most 11, or at least 11. But the departures from last season, Misha Hines-Allen moves to Dallas. Cecilia Zandalcini is selected in the expansion draft, going to Golden State. And then actually today, we learned, as we're recording this, that Dorka Juhas will not be with the team on personal reasons. She's staying in Europe. Hungary did not qualify for Eurobasket. She will not be playing in Eurobasket. So she's just going to take a year to herself. I have to imagine that this was like a bloodbath of cut downs. Like the people that were coming in to compete for a spot on this team, it was a very uphill battle for most of them. And, like some existing players that didn't have big roles last year are going to have expanded roles. And I think a lot of them are going to be staying. But like, it was really only a 1 or 2 opening situation. And because she hasn't been with the team, I think it made sense for Juhas just to kind of call it and not, come back over just to get cut. Even though I was looking forward to her continuing to blossom into a backup center that this team needs and learn from specifically Alana Smith, but it just doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. So then we look at the arrivals. The day of the draft, they traded for Carly Samuelson. They also ended up trading for Grace Berger. And they drafted Anastasia Kosu at 15, Delia Daniels, who they've since cut at 24, and Aubrey Griffin at 37, who received surgery before training camp even started. So she's on a suspended contract currently. Maybe she'll come and make waves for this team next year. And then basically they've cut all of their other training camp contracts except one, Mariam Badian. So as it stands right now, it's 12 players that we know and one Badian that we don't really know, who, as we've learned from our friends in our group chat, friend of the pod Jonathan, friend of the pod Alana, friend of the pod Jonathan told us a lot about how Badian is a very good Euro player, and that's why they like her. She also provides a little bit of extra size at the center position, so maybe she's the backup center that they were faded. But I appreciate our friends throughout our group chat talking about these Lynx games, as we haven't had necessarily an opportunity to check them out. So always appreciative of the group chat. That was a lot, but there's kind of a little here.
Yeah, I think we just need to start going through the roster.
Sure.
So we can talk about everyone else.
Yeah, go. Let's go down and talk about the players each, honestly.
Okay, so starting point guard, and happy birthday to Courtney Williams.
C-Dub, happy birthday.
We have Bridget Carlton, Kayla McBride, Napheesa Collier, reigning MVP of Unrivaled, and Alana Smith.
Same starting five as last season. The predominant starting five. Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Makes sense. I will say, reading what I thought was interesting is Bridget Carlton fell into this starting shooting guard role, wing role that she was in, because Diamond Miller, a player that they had previously drafted that we haven't seen play basketball prior to this preseason game, was hurt, and that role was expected to be hers. And now Miller is healthy, and we have Miller making the team. It could be interesting to see if like Diamond Miller sort of challenges Bridget Carlton, but I think Bridget Carlton was a very good player for them last season, a very reliable shooter. So I don't necessarily expect a shakeup, but it's certainly something that could be possible. Courtney Williams, we saw grow as a point guard a lot last season. Also was very good and unrivaled. So I don't, question anything about her job security. I think having Napheesa Heidemann behind you, who they re-signed, because it's a player that they trust, is, good for their point guard rotation. Obviously, we've talked about Napheesa already. Alana's already healthy. And Kayla McBride, who we haven't seen yet, but, she's relaxing because she played a lot of ball going from the season to unrivaled to playing in Turkey. She deserves a rest.
Yeah, she's fine. She will be back this week.
A lot of people are wondering where she is. Just do a little research and check that she's played basketball for 300 days in a row and probably just needs a break. It's fine. She's going to be playing more high-level basketball.
Right.
So I don't doubt this. I have no reason to doubt this starting five falling off. I expect them to even be a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely more chemistry. They saw what they lacked last year and hopefully have been improving on it in the off season as a team. So that's a huge, strength that it is the exact same five. So looking at the bench players, John mentioned Napheesa Heidemann also was the sixth person last year. So, their position on this team will be exactly the same. Carly Samuelson is a new addition, another guard coming off the bench. Last year, Carly Samuelson averaged 8.5 points on the Mystics, although that was very high, really, compared to her previous years. She kind of has ranged from 1 to 3 points on average.
So she hasn't really flashed a ton.
No.
Early on.
So I think they're really giving Carly Samuelson a chance.
They have to. Because I think they want the Xandalacini replacement. They want somebody that's a surefire shooter from deep. And, Samuelson didn't necessarily have the best preseason, but I think she's still trying to get comfortable. Obviously, Napheesa has a really good relationship with Katie Lou Samuelson, so I assume she also has a good relationship with Carly, which I think is good for her job security. But rejuvenating the Xandalacini role is what the team is going to need to look for, because Xandalacini was a very good player that they didn't expect to necessarily be good as she was last season. So I think they're trying to get multiple looks at that. I mean, if we continue to look down players that we expect to be on the bench here, Alyssa Peely, I was questioning when we started this exercise, before we even got to see any preseason basketball, I wasn't sure if Alyssa Peely was going to make the team, but the way that I've seen her play, the way that she seems to be another incredibly reliable three-point shooter, means that I think she has a sticking point on this team. I think she can play a 3 or 4 position at, 10 to 15 minutes a game. And I think if she has an open shot, I think she's very reliable there. So
yeah, I mean, I really hope Alyssa Peely gets more minutes than last year.
Because she really didn't.
She really played almost none.
Right.
Last year.
Right.
Which I think was very upsetting for people who loved her and were rooting for her, and then just saw her sitting at the end of the bench the whole season.
Right.
So
she was a decently high first round pick. A middle round first round pick. Eighth. Okay. Good check. Yeah. So she's, they expect her to be quality.
Right. So I would hope that they give her some more playing time.
Right.
In any time that I've seen her play, I'm impressed by her. Right. But she just doesn't have minutes.
Right.
If your brain is at full capacity with to-dos, birthdays, dinner plans, meet Skylight Calendar. It syncs your entire family's schedule onto a sleek digital display, so you focus on important things, like where you left your coffee. Right now, Skylight is offering our listeners $30 off their 15-inch calendars by going to skylightcal.com/talk. Go to skylightcal.com/talk for $30 off your 15-inch calendar. That's skylightcal.com/talk.
And I think it's kind of the same situation with Diamond Miller. Like what I'm reading about Diamond Miller. Like Diamond Miller, I don't know how much you have read about Diamond Miller.
Well, I just know that she was hurt.
Yeah, well, she was drafted 2nd overall in 2023 by the Lynx. She became the first rookie ever to score 20 or more points in a game.
Okay. It's quite good.
She was rookie of the month in like July 2023. She was on the all rookie team. She was like very good.
Well, and this is why she was expected to be in the starting lineup in 2024.
Yeah. Well, she started the first 3 games. She was hurt. I don't know. I guess I don't really know when she became healthy again. Because she played sporadically throughout the remainder of last year.
Right.
So she wasn't like completely hurt all of last year.
That could have been the case though. She could have been hurt, and then maybe near the end of the season they were playing her to see if she was going to give them any optionality in the playoffs. That could have been the case, because I really don't remember seeing her, if I'm being completely honest. But she could have gotten like end of game minutes, just because, oh, you know, you're healthy, let's get you on, get you some court time.
I mean, it's like you're not going to play her in the playoffs if she hasn't played.
Right.
But I get that.
Right.
I just like something else that I question with Minnesota is how much they're investing in the rookies and how much they're willing to like rotate and give the starters a break.
Right. I was gonna say the same thing. Like, they need to certainly give. They cannot expect Napheesa and Courtney and Kayla to bear such a heavy burden.
Well, that's what they did last year.
Correct. And Cheryl Reeve, you know, had very short rotations because it was working. And you do that in the playoffs. That's the right thing to do as a coach. But you shouldn't do short rotations, you know, at the beginning of the season. You need to have like 10-person or 11-person rotations, and make sure that you can keep all the legs fresh, and that Alana Smith doesn't get hurt, and that Napheesa Collier doesn't get hurt. And, you know, C-Dub and Kayla are older players in the context of the league. You don't want them to get hurt. So, like, yeah, it makes sure that you have youth that can play, which I hope is the case for Diamond and Alyssa Peely. Talking about body on, I already mentioned that, you know, friend of the pod, Jonathan, and as well as Alana, friend of the pod, who has been watching very closely at some of the rotations that Minnesota's been doing in the preseason. It became aware that, like, this is an efficient player that has, you know, she's 30. She has a lot of experience. We were told, you know, today as we were driving home that she's kind of like a more experienced Dorka Juhas. So, like, it makes sense if Dorka Juhas isn't going to be with the team, bring in, you know, this French player who's very experienced in Euro, have her as a reliable backup to Alana, and go from there. You have her on a cheap contract. It works for me. So we have her penciled in as a backup center, which means that there are 2 spots left over for 3 players, and also an issue with the cap. So we do believe, on good authority, that the team is also very fond of Jessica Shepard, who in last night, as we recorded this preseason game, had a near triple-double, 10, 9, and 9. That seems to do it for me. Like, if you're going to do 9 assists in a preseason game, then you need to be on a team, because that means you're a good passer. Go. Join the team. Jessica Shepard, you're on the team. So now we're at 1 spot for 2 players. Grace Berger, or the rookie that they drafted at 15th overall, Anastasia Kosu. Now, if they were to sign Grace Berger, they would be about $4,000 over the cap. And if they decided to cut Berger and sign Anastasia Kosu, then it would be about $6,000 under the cap. So they have options here. Cut Berger, keep Kosu, who hasn't had a very good preseason, hasn't looked very good, extremely, extremely raw, decent defender, not really a scorer. So cut Berger, keep Kosu. Cut Berger, wait 10 days, re-sign Berger at the veteran minimum, which is less than Kosu would make, or cut both of them, which I don't necessarily expect. Talking in our group chat with our friends, it seems to be an agreement amongst all of us that Grace Berger serves a better role for this team, who would stand to have some guard depth options. If they want to keep shooting the ball at high clip, it's going to be helpful for them to have a player like Grace Berger who could theoretically shoot the ball. We all know how I feel about Grace Berger. We'll see if that's the case.
Yeah, my general opinion, this has nothing to do with Grace Berger, just in general. If you want to cut someone and then re-sign them in 10 days, they would have to wait.
Correct.
And she has to go through waivers.
Correct.
And you're like not worried at all that some other team's going to pick them up, then this is not a person you need to have on your team.
Right.
In general.
It would be interesting to me to see. Let's say they cut Grace. They keep Kosu, who they've already signed to a rookie scale deal. Waivers go. We get to the end of 10 days, assuming they didn't promise anything to Grace. And they're just like, yeah, what you said, nobody picked her up. But it's like a paradox, because it's like, if nobody picked her up, then she's probably not useful to your team as it stands. But if you want her on your team, you have to do this. So it's like they have to feel really good about Grace Berger if they want to bring her back.
Yeah.
On a veteran minimum. Again, theoretically, she's a skilled player. Hasn't bared out in the W thus far, but she was a high draft pick and certainly has an opportunity to potentially have a role in this team. We're going to have to see as time goes when cutdowns come on the 15th.
Sure. So Anastasia Kosu is for sure wants to come over.
She's already here.
Okay, she for sure wants to.
Yes, she's already been playing in preseason. She's already signed a rookie scale.
Okay.
So if they want to cut her, they can't stash her. She's either making the team or getting cut.
See, I feel like another team might want her.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's just interesting.
Like she didn't flash on the screen, but we have very limited idea of what has happened in camp.
Yeah.
Maybe she's impressed in camp. I don't know. She's also on a cheap contract for 4 years. Maybe they think there's upside there. I don't know. But there were players that were pretty good drafted after 15. So like they felt good about drafting an international. So I kind of feel like there's a chance they just keep the cheaper option and let Grace go. And then they're just right up on the cap.
Right. And like what's the odds that she's going to play in very many minutes anyway? Neither one of these people is going to play very many minutes.
Right. I feel like we're quibbling about the 12th spot.
Right.
Which very well could just not ever see any play anyway, especially if we think that Alyssa Peely is going to be better, Diamond Miller is going to be healthy, Jess Shepard is something that they want to use, a player that they want to hitch their wagon to. I think it's a lot of discussion over a more so meaningless topic, but that's kind of where we're at with Minnesota. That's like all the intrigue. They're a set in stone team that we expect to challenge for a championship again. Strengths, weaknesses?
Yeah, definitely strengths, that it's the same team. They have chemistry together. They, more than anyone expected last year, like got along and worked well together. So they're continuing that. It's only stronger, all of their relationships.
Yep.
Obviously, Napheesa and Courtney Williams played together in Unrivaled.
Yep.
And had a very successful run on the Lunar Owls.
Who
Fell short of the championship, but that just has, shows both of them are just even that more hungry to win.
Mm-hmm.
That's really my biggest strength.
Yeah.
And Napheesa Collier should very much be in the conversation of MVP this year. I'm expecting that.
Mm-hmm.
She has just grown and grown and grown, and I think is going to have an incredible year.
Yeah, I expect it.
I think weaknesses, definitely their height.
Okay. A little bit on the smaller side.
Yeah.
Athletic, though.
I mean, incredibly athletic.
Mm-hmm.
Even Alana Smith is very athletic.
Right.
For a big.
Right.
And Napheesa Collier.
Right.
But they just don't have very much depth.
At the big position, you're saying?
Yeah.
And that's why I think they want a veteran type player like Badian who has played a lot. They want to be not concerned that they have a player that doesn't know what they're doing, that can just be a quality rim defender, even though she's, not super tall either. But again, athleticism I think is going to be key.
Yeah.
For them.
Because when I think about competing with New York, they have the competition for Sabrina.
Uh-huh.
They have the competition for Stewie.
Right.
I don't think they have the competition for Jonquel Jones.
And that's why Jonquel Jones was the MVP.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's where they didn't improve.
Right.
In my eyes.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess. Maybe Badian is better than Maisha Hines-Allen.
Maybe.
It remains to be seen.
Yeah.
But we also, they could maybe pull something mid-season and find a replacement piece. Maybe they trade Diamond Miller and upgrade at center there. Mm-hmm. I don't know where the numbers are, but God, if this team could get Azurá Stevens, that would be pretty sweet. But I don't know. I think that number is probably pretty expensive. Mm-hmm. Also, would Alyssa Peely and Diamond Miller and I don't know, and Jessica Shepard be an enticing package, or I don't know, maybe Carla. Who knows? But yes, if they could confirm before the playoffs that they have a quality backup center, then I'll feel very good about this team. Mm-hmm. I think the main weaknesses are just going to be kind of Diamond Miller and Alyssa Peely being, for the most part, unproven, but expecting to be in major roles.
Right. They have kind of gotten themselves in this situation where now they need these two very young players who don't have a lot of experience now. Diamond Miller, I guess, because she was hurt, but Alyssa Peely because you didn't play her at all.
Right. Right.
So we'll see how much they can step up.
Yeah. I think it's pretty easy to see what to expect about this Lynx team. And I don't have anything else on strengths and weaknesses. Kristen, there are 13 teams in the WNBA, and I'm very curious where you have Minnesota ranked amongst them. Regular season award. Where are they going to end at the end of the regular season?
I have Minnesota finishing at 2 again.
I have Minnesota, as of today, finishing in first.
Wow.
Top of the table.
What, you just changed it?
I just changed it in the last 6 hours.
Because they lost Dorka Juhas, you changed it?
No, that's not the reason to change. I think that, well, obviously this means that you have New York at the top, and I have New York at second. I did a little soul searching about New York, and I'm not overreacting to them losing to the Connecticut Sun in a preseason game. Obviously not. Okay. I'm more so worried about where Stewie's at with her knee. Mm-hmm. And this could be, I very much expect this to be a difference of a game. These teams were separated by 2 games last season. Mm-hmm. New York 132, Minnesota 130. I could see it being a flip where Minnesota wins 32, New York wins 30. Obviously they're playing 44, so then it's probably going to be a little higher. But this starting 5 is going to be here. And, I think they're 7 or 8 or 9 quality deep. They're deeper than New York in my eyes. And New York, we expect, is also going to lose a bunch of players for Eurobasket. We learned that. a bunch of like their depth. Like it might be a little bit of rough sledding for a couple weeks there in the middle of the season for New York. That is not necessarily going to be the case for Minnesota. I think Minnesota is just more of a sure thing. I'm not saying that I'm assuming Minnesota is going to win the championship. By all means, don't clip me on that. I do think they're going to be the best regular season team in this year's 2025 WNBA.
Okay.
Think that's fair? Is that a fair point?
Sure, it's fair.
Okay. Anything else to say about Minnesota?
No.
All right. Get out there, Lynx, and let's see if you can get another championship. That'll do it for our discussion of the Minnesota Lynx. If you would, again, like to send us an email and let us know how you're feeling, send us an email, attackthebaseline@gmail.com, or connect with us on Bluesky or Instagram @ATBPod. Comment sections, we're there. I'm checking them out. Let me know how you're feeling. 5-star rating and review, would appreciate that. Tell your friends, tell your family. And we got one more team to talk about, New York, and that'll be on the eve of the season as we have all the cut downs. So very much looking forward to that. But Kristen, I'm staring at the baseline. What are we going to do?
Attack it.
Attack the baseline. Thank you so much for listening, and we will be back soon with our last team ahead of the WNBA 2025 season. New York Liberty. Thoughts on?